Have you ever felt like someone pulls you in so strongly that your whole life starts orbiting them, even when you know it is hurting you? Have you ever wondered why you keep going back to the same kind of bond, even after you promise yourself you will never repeat it again? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about 5 signs you are in a karmic relationship. But we are not going to use the word karmic like a dramatic label to justify chaos. We are going to use it as a mirror so you can see patterns clearly and choose wisdom, compassion, and self-respect. Here are the 2 main ideas I want to hold from the start. First, a karmic relationship is less about a mystical soulmate contract and more about a repeating lesson that keeps pushing your triggers until you either awaken or break the loop. Second, the fastest way to clear karmic momentum is not chasing closure or forcing reunion, but choosing conscious action that reduces suffering over time for you and everyone involved. Let me tell you a story because stories make the invisible visible. Imagine a person named Leela. Not a real name, but a real pattern. Leela is smart, warm, and loyal. She's the kind of person who tries to understand people, even when people do not deserve unlimited understanding. She believes love should be patient. She believes people can change. She believes her heart is strong enough to hold the messy parts. Leela meets someone named Asher. Asher is magnetic, not just attractive, magnetic. The kind of person who can look at you and make you feel chosen in 1 second. The first conversations feel effortless. The chemistry feels intense. Leela feels like time bends around Asher. Friends say it looks like fate. Leela feels like the universe finally answered something she had been praying for. Then the pattern begins. At first, Asher is all in. Messages are constant. Plans come fast. Compliments are big. Promises are easy. Leela feels lifted, like she is living inside a bright story. Then one day, Asher pulls back, not with a clear conversation, but with a shift. Replies slow down. Tone changes. Warmth becomes distant. Leela feels the drop in her stomach. She asks what is wrong. Asher says nothing, or says Leela is overthinking, or says Asher is dizzy. Leela tries to stay calm. She tells herself not to be needy. She tells herself to trust. But her body does not trust. Her body feels like it is losing oxygen. So Leela tries harder. She becomes sweeter. She becomes more available. She becomes more understanding. She starts watching her words like every sentence might decide the future. She starts walking on eggshells. She starts shrinking. And this is the first sign you might be in a karmic relationship. The bond makes you abandon yourself. Not all intense relationships are karmic, but a karmic pattern often pushes you into self-betrayal. You stop honoring your needs. You stop speaking your truth. You stop living your life. Your whole nervous system becomes focused on keeping the connection alive. Leela notices she is not doing her hobbies anymore. She is not sleeping well. She is checking her phone constantly. She is replaying conversations like a detective. She is thinking about Asher while brushing her teeth, while working, while trying to relax. The relationship is no longer a part of life. It becomes the center. Now, why does this happen? Sometimes it happens because the connection is triggering an old wound. A wound that says love is uncertain. Love must be earned. Love disappears. Love is not safe. When that wound gets activated, you can confuse anxiety with destiny. You can think the intensity means it is meant to be, when the intensity might simply be your attachment system on fire. Leela does not know this yet. She only knows she feels crazy. That feeling brings us to the second sign. The relationship creates an addiction-like cycle. Asher returns after a few days, suddenly sweet again, suddenly attentive again, suddenly apologetic without being accountable. Leela feels reliefs, so strong it feels like euphoria. She thinks, see, it was just a misunderstanding. Then she forgets the pain, or she minimizes it, or she tells herself, this is what love is, ups and downs. But this is the trap. The nervous system starts craving the high of reunion after the low of distance. The bond becomes like a slot machine. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and the unpredictability keeps you hooked. You start chasing not love, but relief. A karmic relationship often trains you to mistake relief for intimacy. Relief is the moment the pain stops. Intimacy is the steady presence that prevents the pain from being manufactured in the first place. Leela begins to notice she feels calm only when Asher is close. When Asher is distant, she spirals. That is not stable love. That is dependency created by inconsistency. Now the third sign. The relationship repeats the same conflict with different words. Every time Leela tries to talk about what happened, Asher turns it into something else. Asher says Leela is too sensitive. Asher says Leela is controlling. Asher says Leela is demanding. Asher says Leela should be grateful Asher is even trying. Asher might even say something spiritual, like you need to heal your trauma, or you are not aligned, or the universe is testing you. Notice how the topic never gets resolved. The topic is always redirected. The real issue is consistency and respect. But the conversation keeps becoming about Leela being the problem. This is not only manipulation. Sometimes it is avoidance. Sometimes Asher cannot tolerate accountability. Sometimes Asher feels shame and defense. But impact matters. If the same core wound keeps reopening, the relationship is not growing, it is looping. Karmic loops have a distinct feeling. You feel like you are having the same argument in different costumes. You make the same promises. You forgive the same behavior. You feel hopeful, then disappointed, then hopeful again. Time passes, but growth does not. This is where wisdom must step in. A relationship is not meant to be judged only by love feelings. It is meant to be evaluated by pattern over time. Patterns reveal truth. Now the fourth sign. The bond triggers extreme emotional states that do not match the situation. Leela finds herself crying in a grocery store because Asher left a message on read. Leela finds herself unable to focus because Asher used a colder tone. Leela finds herself having sudden anger that shocks her. Leela finds herself feeling jealousy she never felt before. Leela finds herself feeling desperate, then ashamed of feeling desperate. Some people say this is spiritual awakening. Sometimes it is, but more often it is trauma activation. It is the nervous system reacting to uncertainty as if it is danger. If you grew up in an environment where love could be withdrawn suddenly, your body may interpret distance as threat, so a small shift can feel like an emergency. A karmic relationship often presses exactly where you are unhealed. It is like a finger on a bruise, not because life wants to torture you, but because you cannot heal a bruise you refuse to acknowledge. Here is the key. Being triggered can lead to growth if you use it to heal yourself and set boundaries. Being triggered becomes suffering if you use it to justify staying in chaos. Leela keeps telling herself, maybe I am just triggered, so I should fix myself and then the relationship will be fine. This is a very common misunderstanding. Healing yourself is good, but healing yourself does not automatically turn an unhealthy partner into a healthy partner. Your healing can help you choose better, communicate better, and leave sooner if needed. It cannot replace mutual effort. Now, the fifth sign. The relationship isolates you from your truth. Isolation can be physical, like you stop seeing friends, but it can also be internal, like you stop trusting your own perception. You start doubting your intuition. You start asking strangers online if you are crazy. You start needing constant reassurance. You start accepting explanations that do not feel right. You start ignoring the quiet voice that says this is not love. This is hunger. Leela begins telling her friends only the good parts because she does not want them to judge Asher or judge her. She starts hiding her pain. She starts protecting the relationship from accountability. That is a huge sign you are stuck in a karmic loop. When you start protecting the bond more than you protect your peace, you have inverted your priorities. Now pause with me here, because I want to say something very clearly and very gently. Calling a relationship karmic should never become an excuse to tolerate disrespect. Spiritual language can be used as medicine, and it can be used as a cage. If you use karmic as a reason to stay while you are being harmed, you are not doing spiritual work. You are doing spiritual bypass. Real spirituality includes wisdom and boundaries. Compassion includes self-compassion. Awakening includes discernment. So what is the purpose of recognizing these signs? Not to label someone as your karmic villain. The purpose is to wake up inside your own life. Now let us return to Leela, because this is where the story becomes about transformation, not just pain. One night after another cycle, Asher disappears for 2 days. Leela is devastated. She cannot sleep. She cannot eat. She feels like she is losing her mind. Then something unusual happens. She gets tired of her own suffering. Not tired in a hopeless way, tired in a waking up way. She sits on the floor and says out loud, "This cannot be love if it makes me abandon myself." That sentence is the beginning of liberation. Leela begins doing something new. She stops asking, "How do I get Asher back?" She starts asking, "Why am I willing to lose myself for someone who will not meet me with consistency?" This is the shift from obsession to wisdom. She looks at her history. She notices a pattern. She has always been drawn to people who are intense, but inconsistent. She has always tried to earn love. She has always believed that if she just explains well enough, loves well enough, sacrifices well enough, the other person will finally choose her fully. She realizes this belief is older than Asher. It came from childhood. It came from a time when she had to perform for attention. It came from a time when emotional safety was not stable. She had been repeating a survival strategy. The strategy was, if I try harder, I can control love. But love cannot be controlled. Love can only be chosen. In Buddhist terms, you could say her suffering was fed by clinging to an outcome, clinging to a story, clinging to the fantasy of what could be. The practice is not to stop caring. The practice is to stop clinging. So Leela chooses a practice. When the urge to text Asher rises, she pauses. She breathes. She names what she feels. She says, "This is longing. This is fear. This is shame." She places a hand on her chest and says, "I will not abandon you," meaning she will not abandon herself. Then she does one wise action. She goes for a walk. She eats a meal. She calls a friend. She writes in a journal. She prays in her own words, not pretty words, honest words. She also sets a boundary. She tells Asher, "I care about you, and I need consistency and respect. If you disappear without communication, I will step back. I will not stay in this cycle." Asher reacts. Asher says Leela is dramatic. Asher says Leela is controlling. Asher says Leela is making demands. The old Leela would have softened and apologized. The new Leela holds steady. She says, "This is not a demand. This is my boundary. I am not asking you to be perfect. I am asking you to be respectful. If you cannot, I will not continue." That is what karmic clearing looks like. Not forcing the other person to change. Changing your own participation in the loop. Now something important happens. Asher has a choice. Either Asher grows, or Asher loses access to Leela. Sometimes that loss is the only mirror that forces an avoidant or inconsistent person to see themselves. Sometimes it is not. But Leela no longer needs Asher to awaken. She has already awakened to her own worth. Asher disappears again. This time Leela does not chase. She grieves. She cries. She feels pain. But she does not abandon herself. She does not reopen the wound by begging. She lets the silence be information. Weeks pass. The craving slowly loosens. Leela begins sleeping again. Leela begins laughing again. Leela begins returning to her hobbies. She begins rebuilding her life, and then she notices something that changes everything. The relationship did not only hurt her, it taught her. It taught her that intensity is not intimacy. It taught her that inconsistency is not divine timing. It taught her that chasing is not devotion. It taught her that boundaries are not cruelty. It taught her that peace is not boring. Peace is safety. Leela realizes the karmic relationship was a lesson. The lesson was self-respect. The lesson was discernment. The lesson was learning to love with wisdom. Now let me bring this back to you, because maybe your names are different and your details are different, but the signs might feel familiar. If you are in a bond that makes you abandon yourself, that keeps you addicted to highs and lows, that repeats the same conflict without growth, that triggers extreme emotional states, and that isolates you from your truth. Pause. Ask yourself one honest question. Does this relationship make me more awake or more anxious? Then ask another. Does my love become wiser and kinder here? Or does my love become smaller and more afraid? You do not have to answer with panic. Answer with truth. Now I want to share a reflection that can help you make sense of why karmic relationships feel so powerful. They often feel powerful because they touch your deepest unfinished lesson. It is like life puts a spotlight on the wound you have been avoiding. The bond feels like destiny because it carries emotional charge. That emotional charge is not always guidance. Sometimes it is simply the nervous system screaming for healing. So if you want to clear karma, focus less on interpreting the other person and focus more on your own actions and boundaries. Karma changes when intention changes. If you stop choosing self-betrayal, the loop cannot continue. If you stop confusing suffering with love, you stop attracting the same lesson. If you stop chasing people who cannot meet you, you create space for a healthier bond. This is not about blaming yourself. It is about reclaiming your power. Now, a final scene. Months later, Leela runs into Asher by chance. Asher tries to be charming again. Asher says, "We had something special." Asher hints at getting back together. Old Leela would have melted. New Leela feels calm. She feels compassion for Asher. And she also feels clarity. She says, "I wish you well. I learned it a lot. And I am not going back to that cycle." She walks away and feels a quiet strength, not arrogance. Peace. The kind of peace you feel when you finally stop arguing with reality. That is the real ending of a karmic relationship, not when the other person finally understands. When you finally understand, Thank you for spending this time with me today. I want you to share your story in the comments in your own words. Have you ever been in a bond that felt fated but kept hurting? What sign did you ignore at first? What boundary finally helped you break the loop? Your story might help someone else wake up sooner. If you want more long-form talks about love patterns, karma, wisdom, compassion, and the real practice of healing, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave a comment so this community can keep growing. And if you want to support the work even more, consider joining as a member. Until next time, keep choosing clarity over obsession. Keep choosing compassion with boundaries. And remember that the truest love never asks you to abandon yourself.